Hi, everyone. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is the welcome to the March 8th Transit Technical Advisory Committee. And this is our first fully in-person meeting for a long time, so welcome. Let's go ahead and get started with introductions. Instead of going around the room, I'm just going to call out each agency and then you could introduce yourselves. And we'll start with people here in the room. So I'll start with San Jose City Bus.
I'm Rachel E., Deputy Director of Transportation and Public Works for the City of San Jose.
Thank you. And Marin Transit.
Kathleen Sullivan, Director of Planning.
Thank you. And Smart. Emily Betts, Planner. Golden Gate Transit.
David Davenport, Principal Planner.
Hytham Hamden, Director of Data and Project Administration.
Yeah. And Petaluma Transit.
Jared All, Transit Manager, Petaluma Transit.
And then SCTA, RCPA staff. There.
Heather Stubbs, Transportation Coordinator.
Drew Nichols, SCTA or CPA. Also, just a note about the mics, you don't need to speak directly into them unless those on the screen can't hear us well. It should be able to pick up our voices at normal tone. And also it's a hot mic. So if you have a side conversation with your neighbor, it might pick it up. So just to let y'all know.
Dana Trey, SCTA.
And Ross Thundetten, SCTA, RCPA.
Okay, and then we'll move on to the screen for members of the public and additional staff. Let's see. I can see this well. I'm going to go ahead and read down the list. You could wave and say hello if you'd like. Otherwise, I'll read up your name. So we have Stephen Schmidt from Sonoma County Transit, Adam Garcia, SCTA, Chris Barney with SCTA, Dan Bell. Let's see that one. Okay, and then we have David Riverdale with SCTA, and Jacob Brown with Golden Gate Transit, Ray Atkinson with Petaluma Transit, Sean Sosa with San Jose City Bus, Steve Bertelbaugh with Sonoma County Transportation Land Use Coalition, and Zoe Unruh with Smart. Did I get everyone? Great.
And Drew, great job on the mics. We hear you all really well.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, is there any public comment on items that are not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, let's move on to approval of the meeting notes from the February 8th meeting.
I'll move to approve the meeting minutes.
Okay,
Second.
great. Any objections? Thank you. All right, item number 4 is a complete streets checklist review for the US 101 Hearn Avenue regional multimodal interchange project. So as you may recall, the complete streets process changed last year and added a requirement for transit review of complete streets checklist. So and this committee had requested that we bring the checklist through the committee rather than just direct by email, just to ensure that all transit agencies that are affected by the projects have a chance to review and make sure that all the transit agencies are notified. So we wanted to bring it to this meeting to make sure everybody has an opportunity to review it and bring up any topics that they would like to discuss now. We will be following up with a request for email confirmation that the transit agencies that are impacted by the project have reviewed the complete streets checklist. So it's really just a confirmation that you've reviewed, but this is a great time and opportunity to bring up any issues or concerns you may have about the project.
Dana, can I just make a quick comment about this project, since it's the Santa Rosa project, I'm pretty familiar, just wanted to share with the committee. You know, from a transit perspective, you know, City Bus has been very supportive of this project for the many years it's been in the pipeline, because that overcrossing at Hearn Ave is a distinct pinch point. And the pedestrian facilities are not adequate, or the bike facilities at this time to facilitate that movement between the western side of 101 and the eastern side. But as soon as this project is done, it will give us the ability to do some restructuring in our South Santa Rosa service that we've had on the books for some time, but it's just not operationally feasible because there is such a continuous backup at that interchange based on the current infrastructure. So I just wanted to share that with the group, that it's something that that we're excited about to make better connectivity possible for transit between Roseland and South Santa Rosa, and the side that's east of 101.
What's the approximate timeline of the construction?
For the construction, David, you wanna address that?
So we're trying to secure all the funding in June of this year and hopefully going out to bid in August or September, but it really just depends on funding and Caltrans's timeline. I think we won't start construction until spring of 2024 at this rate.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on the complete streets checklist?
Well, Dana, Sonoma County Transit also provides service across this bridge, so I'll echo what City Bus had to say, and that we're excited to see this bridge expanded and improve our service through that corridor. I think the only bus stop is just past Corby, west of Corby Avenue, next to the gas station, heading westbound. And as long as that stays in place, we're happy. Looking forward to it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to send out a request for confirmation or review to City Bus, Sonoma County Transit, and Smart. I don't believe Golden Gate has any routes in that.
Not
area.
anymore. We're only on the freeway now.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, let's go ahead and move on to item number 5, which is regional funding, starting with the coordinated claim for transit funding. So we brought a draft TDA coordinated claim to this committee last month, and submitted the attachment A to MPC for to include in their fund estimate, and this is the complete coordinated claim that includes TDA, SCTA, and Measure M funding. And associated exchanges between them. So this after this committee, the coordinated claim will go to the transit paratransit coordinated committee later this month, and then to the SCTA board of directors in April. And before it's submitted to MPC. Anybody have any questions or comments on the coordinated claim?
Dana,
Yes.
sorry. So Brian wanted me to point out to you all that on the last page of the STA coordinated claim, that we are claiming that amount includes prior year funds claimed of 1.874 million. So I think that's something new this year. We hadn't necessarily claimed prior year funds for STA, but we're doing that this year.
Thanks, Stephen. Yes, there's been some prior year funds accumulating, and Brian thought it would be good to go ahead and include that now before it, accumulates for too long. So that is new. It's about 1.8 million.
Where's that number reflected on there, James?
So the SCTA quarterly claim page, which is the last page, yes.
Okay.
And in the top right box of that
Oh.
table there has a prior year funds to be claimed. So bringing the STA population based funds from 8 to 10 million. MTC has also asked transit operators to proceed with caution in terms of budgeting for STA because of because of some uncertainties at the state level. I think that we should have information later in the I believe it's the August update that would clarify those numbers, but yeah, starting here with the full fund estimate amount. Unless there's any other questions, I will be looking for a motion on this item to recommend it to the Transit Paratransit Coordinating Committee and the SCTA for the project.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. Any objections? Right. Thank you. Actually, before we move on, I'm going to just mention that this is year 5 programming for 23-24 is year 5 of a 5-year agreement that we made for the SCTA population based on distribution. So this year we will be starting later this year, we'll start to discuss what to do moving forward, and if the distribution formula still makes sense, or if there's any changes needed.
If it shifts at all, what is the basis for the data? What subset,
We haven't gotten there yet, so if you have any recommendations, feel free to bring them up. All right. So the next item under regional funding is there are 2 calls for projects out by MTC for the climate initiative programs. One is the mobility hubs grant and the other is the parking management planning grant. I'm sure you all are aware of these, and I think that we may have actually discussed them at our last transit meeting, but I wanted to make sure that everyone is aware of them and knows that the applications are due on March 31st. And we'd certainly be interested to hear if anybody's thinking about the mobility hubs grant in summertime.
For Petaluma, we've applied for the mobility hubs last cycle, but weren't successful with that. I'm not sure if we're gonna apply this cycle. We are going for the parking management grants. We'd like to do a parking analysis, focus on the downtown area a bit expanded. So I know with that one, we'll at least be applying. And I'm curious too, if anyone's ever received the mobility hub funding. In the past. Yeah.
There's only been one cycle, is that correct? Yeah, I was actually surprised to see how many areas were eligible in Sonoma County. I thought that it may have been limited to just the top 25. I had seen maps of in the region, but it seems like any of the identified mobility hubs are actually eligible.
Is it PDAs overlapped with? like, smart service type thing or like fixed driveway service, what, you know, what makes it eligible?
There was a mobility hub process that MTC went through, and it's transit hubs, so smart stations, transit malls, major hubs, as well as some park and ride lots, a number of park and ride lots throughout the county, so.
I don't think it has PDAs as a factor.
I don't believe so.
Yes. Yeah, I think TAM's doing a countywide study, or they're proposing. Yeah.
Okay.
To try to, I think, queue cities up for getting funding in the future and get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, I know there are some park and ride lots outside of PDAs that
Yeah.
have been identified as mobility hubs.
Dana,
Yeah,
Jared, I was just curious what your project was for the mobility hubs. Was that the transit mall down there?
No, that one wasn't on there. It's defined as we were just mentioning. So Petaluma only has 4 on there. And I don't recall Copeland being on there. I only recall last time there being 2 of them. Now there's 4. One of them would be the Copeland Mall / a smart station area. The other would be the Lakeville and 101 Park and Ride. The third is near the fairgrounds on Washington. And then the fourth is the South Petaluma Park and Ride just off 101, just as you're coming into town there, northbound. So it's fairly limited in that sense. It was mostly improvements like additional vehicle charging, additional bus shelters, bike parking. A further build out to make those mobility hub versus more just a park and ride and those kind of things like the design is right now. Yeah, I didn't see any projects on the project list that were awarded in the North Bay when I looked at the cycle, so. I think it's fairly competitive, I get the sense.
no. Great, anything else on regional funding? Let's go ahead and move on to item number 6, which is transit integration updates. I'll give a brief update on the work being done with the 3 local bus operators. And then open it up to other items. So we have kicked off the transit integrated transit service plan. And with Nelson Nygaard leading that under T.Y. Lin, and have begun data collection and will be carrying out this project throughout this calendar year. So the data collection is starting with the 3 local bus operators, but there will also be some a look at regional service. So they may be reaching out to Smart and Golden Gate as well, to ask for some data to look at those regional connections. And then we are also working on some website integration work, which will look at both Petaluma Transit and Sonoma County Transit websites that are on the Trillium platform, and look at design elements to align the styles and where things are located, and the trip planning functions of those websites more, and have that design review then inform the development of a website for Santa Rosa City Bus on the Trillium platform. So this is kind of the first 2 steps to get to the ultimate goal of having a single landing page that would connect with the 3 transit operators websites and function, have an integrated functionality. So we have we're bringing a contract to our board of directors next on Monday for that contract, and I expect to be working on that over the next roughly 6 months, at least these first couple of phases of it. Go from there. So some exciting work. So I'll just open it up to anybody that has anything else, either related to transit integration, either on the Sonoma County side or other regional efforts. So Trillium posts your website. Didn't think that they did that. One thing that might relate to coordination is that we are buying some real-time signs. And I know that especially Sonoma County Transit has been very forward thinking in terms of trying out different real-time signage, but if there's any interest in coordinating or anything on procuring the signs, just let me know. We don't have a vendor selected yet, it's a budgeting process, but I've been talking to a few. But these will be arrivals, real-time arrival signs at each station? Yeah, on the platforms. And we can certainly have adjacent bus stops also have related signage, but it could be more than that too. So.
We definitely like to talk with you, and we're about to sign a contract. So for some real-time signage, so we've got some resources as well, so should definitely great. Figure out how about sign.
Sonoma County Transit's been working with Essentia real-time signs. They're a Kindle type technology, and we're pretty happy with them. So we're happy to share that information. We've got about 10 signs out there right now, and we're getting 10 more, and they've been really good to work with. So.
And that's VIX, the same as.
Yeah, it's through VIX, but the manufacturer is actually out of Sweden. They're called Essentia.
Okay.
We should probably just, for the good of the order, talk about the free summer youth program. Yeah, okay, well, feel free to chime in. Almost everyone in the room is involved in this, but for the good of the public and the order, we're working collectively on a free summer youth program for June, July, and August for the 3 local bus operators in Sonoma County, Marin Transit and Smart. So that's that marketing work is in development, and we'll be, when did we say we're going to be on the street with that? April?
June.
Oh, the marketing.
Oh, the marketing. I don't know.
April, May. April, let's say April. So, and then that'll transition into promoting the continuation of the free fares for youth in Sonoma County, countywide on the 3 local bus systems. So it's pretty exciting. Yeah.
We'll be ready to share. So.
Awesome. And I also just mentioned that I don't think we've totally nailed this down yet, but as we did last year, I think City Bus, Sonoma County Transit, Petaluma Transit are going to be fare free on Earth Day. So I think we haven't quite, I think we have a meeting later today where we may just decide for sure if that's happening, but just for the other operators to be aware. And we've got a Earth Day Festival in Santa Rosa and Butter and Egg Days in Petaluma that day. So it lines up really well with some of the big events in Sonoma County. April 22nd. Yeah.
And is City Bus planning to have a bus at their event in San Rosa again?
Yeah. We'll have an electric bus there this year. Exciting.
I know we've offered free Earth Day in the past. We haven't actually talked about it for this year.
We'll let you know when we decided for sure. But it looks like we're heading that way.
I was also going to say something on the real-time signs, but I don't know the vendor's name off the top of my head. We're looking at we got a transit priority corridors grant. And we're looking at some solar powered standalone sort of signage. Do you know about the, I can look up the vendor.
It's probably either VIX or Waysign.
Yeah.
But I don't, if it's a third vendor, I'd love to know who it is.
Okay, I'll look it up while we're here.
All right, any other transit integration specific topics? Okay, let's go ahead and move on to updates. I'll go the other way this time. Jared, do you want to start off with an update?
Yeah, sure. So Petaluma Transit continues its facility electrification work. We've brought on board a consultant, NB5, to help with the design of the facility plans. It'll take us all the way up through the kind of build construction set. And so we've been meeting with a couple of bus manufacturers too, to figure out what kind of chargers we want to use to make sure it's all compatible. And we got back the preliminary designs for PG&E and then the contracts that we're currently executing right now. And then the city is doing a larger EV master plan process that was just approved by city council last night. That'll be the same consulting team, and that'll be kicking off in probably a couple of months as well. We did hire a new general manager. Some of you may know him, Bill Middleton, formerly with San Jose City Bus, most recently with Golden Gate Transit, to be our contracted general manager for MB. He just started on Monday. Still continuing to work through the staff shortage, most notably with drivers, kind of an ongoing struggle there. We have hired about 3 recently, so that's good news, but always putting a lot of work into that effort. We're updating, creating actually our first DVE program, and that'll go before council on early April, first week of April. And then also LC-TAC grant will go before the same council meeting. And I think that's pretty much it.
Hey, Jared, quick question. Santa Rosa is looking at doing a citywide EV master plan as well. Who is the staff person in Petaluma that's leading that up?
Brianna Frank. If it's helpful, I can send you the scope of work.
That'd be great, actually.
Sure.
Thank you, Jared.
Yeah, we're a little further ahead of transit. We did our electrification study that I know you were part of back in 2019. Along with Sonoma Clean Power. So we fortunately had that document that put us a step or so ahead, but it also.
Same, yeah. Okay, that'd be great.
Sure.
They're scoping it right now, so I think that could be really helpful.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey, thanks. David, Wingate.
Yes, so a few updates from us. We are looking forward to kicking off our passenger and non-user survey this spring. I think we're gonna have a preliminary kickoff meeting with our consultant in a couple weeks. So we're looking forward to that because this will be our first assessment of all of our transit services since COVID hit. Which, as I'm sure you're all aware, has really dramatically affected a lot of our transit service, much more so than the local operators. And that's also why we're having a non-user component to the survey, to really get a handle on what regional travel expectations are moving forward. And so CC&G is our consultant, the same consultant that MTC will be using for its minimal regional survey that they're doing. That's not going to be for Title VI apparently. Luckily ours will be also for Title VI, so we're going to be safe. Beyond that, later this month, we'll be going to our board with a recommendation for a 5-year fare program. I can't officially say yet which one we've selected because the material hasn't made it to our board of directors, but in like a week and a half or something, it'll be public. But it is one of the options with a minor adjustment. We had moved forward with 4 options with the public. So it's one of those 4 options. I would say it's one of the ones that probably makes more sense to everyone sitting here. And so that would take effect starting July 1st. And the deadline was moved up because MTC has tighter deadlines now due to Clipper 2.0 development team also working on regular Clipper changes. So it's a 90-day lead time instead of a 60-day lead time now. Beyond that, we are also having some issues that I think we've all had for a while with driver availability. So we've had some ad hoc cancellations over the past few weeks. We're hopeful that by early April, when we have another driver class graduate, that issue will go away. But it is really limiting our ability to expand service because we're just barely able to meet what we're currently promising to our customers. The class that starts after this one is quite a bit larger because it's the first class that really has a lot of people from our pre-apprenticeship program that we just started up. So we're optimistic that sometime this summer things will look better, which means maybe we can actually expand service later this year. But for the time being, we're kind of locked in place. Ridership, I guess luckily in that context, but unluckily overall, it has just finally rebounded to fall levels for us. It was a very slow winter. Between the holidays and the weather, people just really didn't seem to want to take a long trip on a bus or a ferry. But we're finally seeing that bounce back. So fingers crossed that more people return, and then we'll have the drivers to then expand service this fall maybe. And that's it for the big items from us.
For your survey, is that on board or,
Yes.
okay, and are you joining the effort with MTC's smaller survey or?
No, we'll be doing
Yes,
our
okay.
survey, I think, just basically in place of
In place
theirs.
of,
Yeah, we don't
okay.
want to have two surveys so close together, especially since the one MPC is doing will follow and will be much less comprehensive than ours.
Okay, so you're just including anything that
Yes.
they want to ask for the regional survey on your survey?
Correct.
Okay, great.
And what'd you say the timing of that was?
Well, like the pre-kickoff meetings in a couple weeks, so it'll be early spring, I think, when they're actually out doing the survey. We'll find out, I think, in a couple weeks that a more definitive time.
Yeah, okay.
But we're definitely, the ball's been rolling for a while, so it'll be before the big MTC effort, since I think MTC is just approving that this month. So they'll be a little bit behind us on that work.
Are you doing an online survey as well?
I don't know if there's anything online, but I think there's some focus groups, maybe some phone calls. Yeah, if you want, I can talk to Barbara, who's the project manager, and report back at a future meeting with more information.
Okay.
Since we should have it in a few weeks.
Great, yeah, interesting to hear. Thank you. All right, next, yeah.
Let's see, I don't know how much new we have. We have a lot of pathway and station design documents underway. Engineering is very busy trying to get Petaluma North open sometime in the next couple of years. A lot of the pathway constructions have to be paused because of this never ending rain that we're having. The pay round to Lakeville segment has been pushed out a couple times. We've been working on getting a pathway wayfinding contract and are expecting bids on that in the next week or so, I believe. So it's exciting. This week we're submitting a Caltrans planning grant for a project. It's a little nebulous, but it's sort of trying to quantify some of the non-ridership related benefits of having a commuter rail system in the North Bay, which is, something that's really hard for people to understand. The long-term benefits, right, of having the infrastructure in place, because as you all know, it takes a really long time for those development patterns to shift and for lifestyle patterns to shift. And so trying to do a study to quantify some things so that we can talk about economic investment numbers and affordable housing numbers, things like that, right? So that it's not just all the obsession on the ridership, because there are so many other non-rider related benefits, even if you never ride smart. So fingers crossed that we can get that submitted, gets funded. Yeah, I think that's all I have. Ridership is steady, but definitely slowed over the winter. And I know I always say this, but we just noticed such a correlation with the weather. People do not want to take the train when it's raining outside. So hoping that gets better. So,
Thanks. Right, Marin Transit.
Let's see, driver recruitment is also an issue for us, and I did, to note, I did bring this up with Robert Del Rosario to bring up in one of these regional meetings, because despite the Transit Transformation Action Plan having all these things to fix transit, it's one of the most sort of urgent things facing the region, even though it's not an action, so, anyway. Planted that seed to start maybe having it be more of a, because it doesn't seem based on what I've seen, that there's much discussion at sort of that regional coordination level, more just everyone saying their individual pieces. Nor do I know really what could be done at a regional level, but even a regional campaign to build on some of the individual agencies campaigns or something like that. We continue to be on the hunt for a facility in Marin County, the internal challenge of that Marin Transit faces. The other two big things we're going to be working on in the coming months and year probably is fares. We're getting Clipper independence in with Clipper 2. So we've still been a part of Golden Gate system. So we're getting Clipper independence, and it just introduces a lot of new possibilities for us in terms of fare payment. And we might make some big changes on how we collect fares, which might have implications for fare policy. And then we also got a transit priority corridor grant. So we're going to be kicking that off probably this summer to look at what is possible in Marin County on some of our high ridership routes for transit priority improvements. Probably not things like bus lanes, but maybe queue jumps, bus bulbs, things like that. And then the other thing that might be worth mentioning is I was thinking the Tamalpais overcrossing. So Caltrans is doing a project at Tamalpais overcrossing in Corte Madera, and proposing moving the Golden Gate, I mean, sort of the bus pads that we share, onto the on and off ramps. And there has not been very good coordination, but we're finally, I think, in a pretty good dialogue with Caltrans and the city about having a design, if you're going to take them off the bus pads and get the potential inefficiencies of having to have the buses get off the freeway, with the flip side of better safety for pedestrians and access to the stops, what improvements need to be in place in those? So we are about to submit a joint letter to Caltrans with Golden Gate, basically with an ideal design that says these are the features that such a design would have to have. And Caltrans has basically indicated this is what they're going to do eventually at all the interchanges up and down the 101, which is why I mentioned it in this context, is things like transit priority, a transit only receiving lane on the on-ramp side, basically that you're not introducing a bunch of delay. So there are a few features that we're pointing out, making sure the stops are far side, not near side. Their original design had them on the right turn lane, the bus stop on the right turn lane on the off ramp, which doesn't make any sense. So anyway, I figured I'd mention that just because Caltrans has definitely indicated this is the beginning of moving a lot of those bus pads off the freeway. That's it.
All right.
All right. I don't have a lot that's new since last time. We do have a small service change happening this month. It's a little bit of an increase. We're putting one more bus out, which, we'll celebrate every additional bus we can put out in service. It's not going to be a significant increase in frequency. We're mostly just making on-time performance corrections on a few of our heavier routes that have gotten bogged down post-COVID. But a lot of tweaks for the riders. So we'll be getting out and doing outreach. We're going to be a week later than the date we've all tried to coordinate around. So it won't be this weekend. It'll be the following weekend, just because for a variety of reasons, we couldn't get everything done and have enough time to do the outreach. So we're a week off, but we're close. We have 5 more electric buses on order. I might have reported on that last time. I can't remember. But yeah, that's basically it.
You remind me, we're also doing a big service change that's affecting half of our routes in June.
Okay.
It's the biggest service change we've done since June 2016.
Oh my gosh.
So we just did our public hearing this week, and I can't believe I forgot to mention that. Only been like the biggest topic we've been talking about at work. So thanks for the prompt.
Thanks. Stephen, you want to give an update on Sonoma County Transit?
Sure. So we also are implementing a schedule change effective this Sunday, the 12th, which to our surprise, is also a daylight savings time. So we're gonna see how that helps with changing schedules on the same day as daylight savings time. That's a little awkward. But most of our changes are going to be on the Route 20. We're totally revamping our Route 20 to help with schedule adherence. Our ridership is up about 35% year to date through January, so that continues to be good news for us. Brian, I think, probably mentioned last month that we have 10 Proterra 40-foot buses on order that should be delivered summer of 2024. And we're currently moving forward. We've already designed an expansion to the charging, electric charging at our bus yard. And we're just about to request another allocation of TIRSIP funding to help with that construction. So things are starting to fall in line for an expanded electric fleet here at Sonoma County Transit and the charging at our facility.
And Stephen, congrats on getting your master agreement executed with Caltrans. It's a big step. Hopefully they'll put someone agreement over to you pretty soon.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for all your help with navigating TIRSIP, David. Much appreciated. So that's all I've got.
All right, thank you. Let me see. Included the planning activities report. In the agenda, isn't it?
Can I ask a question on the transit coordination? Yeah. Has anyone heard anything from Caltrans? They're supposed to be doing a transit plan, a District 4 transit plan. Have you heard about this? So it's supposed to kick off this spring. They got, and so Caltrans planning grants, they have internal grants that go to Caltrans and then they have external grants. So they got one of their own internal Caltrans planning grants to do a transit plan, kind of like they've done a bicycle and pedestrian plan for Caltrans District 4. So keep an eye out. I also have not heard, last timeline I heard was that it was going to kick off sometime this spring. So just something to keep an eye out for. If I hear anything, I'll definitely bring it back to this group, but.
Well, they just finished this North Coast Bus Coordination Study, that might be the name of it, which extends basically as far as Santa Rosa in Sonoma County, and then goes all the way up to Eureka, looking at lots of connections there and making recommendations. So there are some that affect Sonoma County Transit, us, and Mendocino Transit. And there's also an analogous rail component. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Another plan.
Another plan.
Yeah, that would be the North Comprehensive Multimodal Corridor.
Maybe.
Did it say on the third?
I think that's something different.
No, it's a different.
Yeah.
Okay.
The CMCB is something different. I saw the final draft came out. We still reviewed that one, but yeah, the North Coast one was a separate study.
All right, 2 studies already.
Yeah, great.
And that the CMP is by county. So for Golden Gate, we're actually in 2 of them. So
The
it's a lot.
CMCP,
Yeah, the CMTP.
which I think is just a requirement to
That's
be
right.
eligible for funding.
Right.
That's how it felt.
Yeah.
And then it's been a year probably since they did the intercity bus study for the state with the consultant. That had some recommendations in there that were fairly high level. I don't know if it ever made it to final form, but it had things like bus service in the Highway 37 corridor and things like that. So it seemed like maybe an umbrella to some.
The CIVs.
I wouldn't know.
That's-
They've had a lot of planning studies coming out of Caltrans.
They do.
So.
They do.
Yeah, that's interesting at the district level though. Is there a district level transit group? Yeah, there is, okay.
Wingate,
When you,
is it just Wingate? It is a person.
person.
I don't know if there's more people. I only ever see Wingate.
it's for as long as I've been at Golden Gate, it's always been, let's call Wingate.
Exactly. So it might be a 1-person shop.
Interesting.
I will say they got a lot of attention on their bike ped plan. And it had some, I mean, I think it had some influence within District 4. And so I don't know if that will be the same with Trent. There probably won't be as much public interest just because we know that bike there's a lot of bike advocacy, but it might have the same level of import within the agency, who knows?
Oh, interesting.
All right, the planning activities report is just in here for your information. It's a report that we give to our board on various activities that are planning for facilities. The opening questions, anything there? Steve.
Yes, there has been some discussion at the state level of doubling the amount of transit over the next several years, and I'm wondering how much of this is covered in the Caltrans planning effort. Do we have any indication that that's what they have in mind?
The state budget would suggest otherwise.
Yeah.
So I would say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't imagine that a district, I imagine a district level plan is more focused on the Caltrans facilities, transit
Capital.
running on the Caltrans facilities within the district.
Yeah.
Um,
It might address things like the bus pad issue I just brought up at a
Right.
more comprehensive level.
Yeah, so we need to find in the state budget to to double trend. Or keep it at its levels.
Or not. Yeah.
How would we plan for doubling the amount of transit?
I think for Golden Gate, the answer is easy because we're running half as much service as
There
we
you go.
were a few years ago, so.
Depends on where you start.
Just put it back, but not quite in the same spot.
More riders, more money.
Yeah.
More drivers, more riders, more money, more drivers.
I think Steve, it's a good question. I mean, yeah, the state budget is not heading in that direction by any stretch, but. I don't know, for doubling transit. We probably have existing plans, at least the city bus, our existing long range plan could probably absorb that much additional resource and put it on the street. Because we have that much unmet need that we've already identified in our planning processes. So I think that may be true for other operators as well, that there's existing plans on the books that are severely underfunded, and we could start there and maybe do a refresh and some coordination, obviously, but I think we all have services we know are needed that we can't fund right now. So we've got a good starting point for that type of scenario.
So it might be good to call Caltrans' attention to the fact that these plans exist and we're ready to double when they're ready to fund it.
One question on the bike share, Dana.
Yeah.
Is there an estimated RFP date?
We are, we actually have a call with MTC, later this week. They reviewed our draft, RFP, and there's some discussion about, one of the requirements, it was in the grant funding, maybe it not being so relevant anymore. So we have, some discussion to work out there. I am thinking we should be able to get it out later this month. So hopefully sooner than later. And then we will see what happens. There's so much uncertainty and change in the industry. Hopefully we'll get some good focus. But yeah, it's sort of held up in that discussion, which I think is going to be resolved fairly quickly.
Curious about the Bay Wheels program. Has there been discussion of extending that to North Bay instead of this type of model, or what's this?
Yeah, so we actually asked MTC, MTC brought an item to the commission for some additional funding for the Bay Wheels program, and we asked if If we could expand that up here, if we could use our grant to push that. You know, Bay Mills has had its own challenges, and basically the response was that there was not interest or feasibility in expanding that to the North Bay.
Are they a private contractor
Yes,
called Bay Wheels or?
it is Lyft,
It's Lyft.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
yeah, with the branding and Bay Wheels.
Did they receive regional funding, regional subsidy from NTC?
You know, there was regional funding allocated for, if I remember all of this, it's been such a long process. There was regional funding for a Bay Area bike share program, and essentially, it was Motivate then, and then purchased by Lyft, came in and offered to develop the program at no cost. There have been some subsidies, including this more recent subsidy to get more electric bikes and do some other elements for the Bay Wheels program. But the agreement, you know, was initially you know, it was Motivate came in and proposed to operate in certain areas at no cost.
Okay.
So yeah, it's we had hoped last time we did a procurement that Lyft would propose, but they didn't, so we'll send it out to them again and see what happens. You never know. Things change all the time in the industry, so.
Your stocks aren't, your stock market outlook is not very good over there, so we'll see.
Yeah. They actually, I think when we published the RFP last time, it was maybe the same day as their IPO. I don't know if that had anything to do with them not proposing, but it was interesting timing.
Yeah, and the contractor, the remnants of the contractor that was gonna be the same one for SCTA and TAM. The original manufacturer, I guess, came into the city of Richmond to sort of band-aid the system, but it's not in very good shape, speaking from personal experience living there. And so even though we're almost starting from scratch in this process, I actually wouldn't be surprised if we end up with new systems in both cities at about the same time. Because it's been very slow going in Richmond and getting things
Do you know if they're
back
looking at
operational.
a new system or going through the same?
Last I
vendor?
heard is they're so understaffed at the city that I don't know if anything's really happening. I do see, you know, the bike stands, the empty bike stands that have been hit by cars in my neighborhood, so.
Yeah,
So-
they've had some, I mean, when the previous company was operating, they had a lot of issues with vandalism.
Is their system operating currently?
It was at the end of last year, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's on ice again because they were only, I think they were only using 50 of the bikes or something at the citywide level, which is an incredibly small number for a city of 120,000 or something.
Yeah, I can check in with them. See what the status is. It's been a while since I've heard an update. from Richmond. But yeah, we'll copy you all when we send out the RFP.
And a similar program is envisioned, right? Is I think Larkspur Ferry Terminal was part of that.
Yes,
original
that
proposal.
original, yeah, so, I mean, because of the state of the industry and the uncertainty and what we went through with Bolt Mobility, we are essentially making our RFP much more flexible. We're saying we've done this process, we've identified hub locations and priority areas between Santa Rosa and Larkspur. And many of those locations have gone through intensive review process by the public agency. But we're not requiring that the operations be in those exact locations or cities in general. We're not requiring a minimum or maximum number of bikes. And we're opening up to bikes and scooters, although our grant will only fund subsidy of bikes, so it's written in a way that we could subsidize the bikes, but they could propose scooters as well.
And can they propose a non-hub based system?
Yes, we've left it fairly open. Yeah,
That's good.
and we've disclosed the amount of funding we have, and you know, just laid it all out there. Here's what we have, here's what we've done, what can you do? Hopefully that's helpful in being able to do a better, well, not say better, but do a comparison. I don't the best we could do to, yeah, identify an operator that's a good chance of succeeding. All right, any other announcements or business comments?
Maybe next month we'll see more people in person.
That means you, Stephen.
All right, thank you all.
But it's a good, if we participate, so do the rules about like absent, how many times you can be absent and things like they apply to our